Julian Meyer and Aaron Solano with BlurtBox.
All right, thanks, Josh. Can you guys hear me in the back? I'm horrible with microphones. I usually don't use them. We're good back there? Yes? No? Thumbs up, please. The girls in the back. All right, great. Thank you. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. We're super excited to still have a crowd. We've been stuck in a little holding cell back there. For all you Crummer people out there, Dean, we have to apologize. We're skipping Ron Piccolo's class to do this pitch, so I hope that's all right. So anyway, thank you guys for having us. We're BlurtBox. My name's Julian Meyer. This is Aaron Solano. We're both graduating Crummer students, so 3.5 more weeks. A clap would be nice. Thank you guys. It's been a long 2 years. So in any case, this is our startup. I met Aaron actually through the Rollins MBA program, so it's kind of a fairy tale Crummer story. He was another software company, and my background happens to be in restaurant marketing, and I got into the restaurant consulting space and really had a lot of trouble using different feedback tools while I was in that space. Decided to come to Crummer, get an MBA, refine my skills, and BlurtBox is the brainchild of an idea that I had while I was there, and Aaron helped me refine it, so here we go. To get into BlurtBox, the problem that we solve and the reason we built BlurtBox is we found that it's really difficult to engage customers and use modern day technology to leverage feedback in a way that makes sense for both the customer and the business, and provide a channel that allows you as customers to leave your feedback in an unstructured way to provide data to the business. And so what we did is our simple solution to this problem is we found that if you can take unstructured data and allow the customer to voice their opinion in an open format instead of having them constrained to a 15-question survey, 20-question survey. Anybody that's filled out a Dunkin' Donuts survey knows it takes 40 minutes to get a free donut. Just let them voice their opinions, and then we can provide the insight on the back end. We found that there might be a business there. And so that was about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, and we found that there were a lot of companies in the space that were only capturing feedback. So they would do surveys, or they would do these open text formats, but they wouldn't put it all together and analyze that feedback, allow the business to respond to the feedback, and then bring the customer back in to create a loyal customer, and that's really what we aim to solve. So again, when we did our market survey, and we went out and we studied whether competition was in the space, we found that there were a lot of competitors. There were a lot of people out there that were collecting feedback, that were claiming to analyze feedback, but a lot of these systems were either outdated, like your paper comment cards if you've ever been to a hotel. They were tedious, like your self-designed SurveyMonkey surveys, which I'm sure all of you have filled out. They were complicated, your elongated questionnaires, which may take 15, 20 minutes just to tell the business what your actual thoughts were, or they were super expensive, like a market research firm, which you can have come in, do a research study on your business, but that's going to cost you an arm and a leg to have come in. And so really, to tell you about how it works, I'm going to let Aaron jump in here.
Appreciate it, Julian. So the first piece of feedback that's necessary is actually gaining the feedback from your customer itself. So the capturing piece is a dynamic piece as the business. So you need to find a way to actually interact with your customer to give that feedback while on site instead of waiting till they leave, send them a survey, and wait for them to respond at a 1.2% response rate. So what we do is we give a platform to the customer to be able to voice their opinion directly to you without any hindrance, so they can come and text and be able to fit into some app that they have already. We can do a web URL, we can do emailing, and we'll get into that in a second. So capturing the feedback is the main piece originally. And then what we do on the back end and the secret sauce of it is analyzing it. We actually work with a few different companies that do sentiment graders, so we can understand if the comment coming in is true and valid compared to someone that's just trying to steal a free donut or a free coffee from some store or restaurant. So we can be able to look at that and tell you, hey, this is the dynamic that's coming in, these are your customers, and this is what they're saying, and this is a common theme that's coming up multiple times. It might be something you need to address. The next piece is the response factor. So getting all this information is great, but you want it in a clean format. You want something that you can be able to look at quick and easy, have a quick dashboard, and be able to understand what information is coming to you right away, and to be able to respond to the pertinent pieces of information. If someone says, I love your restaurant, that's awesome, we love it. But if someone says, hey, I didn't enjoy it, your server was horrible today, you want to respond to that quickly and rapidly. So in the dashboard setting, we give a sentiment grader as well as an understanding to be able to communicate back to your customer, and that leads into the next piece, is the loyalty part. We've opened up basically an instant messaging dynamic within the platform. So you can go ahead, and if someone responds to you through an app or leaves an email address, you can go ahead and click on that and interact with the customer and say, hey, We appreciate your feedback. We'd love to hear back more from you. Here's 50% off your next meal, or let us cover whatever you're doing, or let us cover your whole hotel stay. We're sorry for what occurred. So you can interact with them directly. Instead of waiting for them to post to an online website, it goes public, and other people are going to be able to see that interaction that you had no control over in between, but now you can be able to cut this off in the intermediary area where you can actually interact with the customer itself. So this next piece of it are touch points. So you look at this and say customer feedback is great, but how do we actually get people to engage with us? How do we get people to actually interact with the business that wants to hear from everyone else? So we came in, and with some backgrounds of our own, we can integrate easily with point of sale systems. So we can, if you give information to the point of sale, we can interact with you through an email blast. We can do a QR code on the bottom of your receipt. We can as well do a URL at the bottom of your receipt. We can do marketing campaigns within the restaurant, hotel industry, and you'll see why we keep emphasizing these two later on. And with those pieces, we're able to get the customer and a lot of touch points to give the feedback and understand that it's an easy format to leave what they have to say. So they don't have to do a 10-page survey just to get the open text box at the end and say, hey, this is what I actually feel. How's the lighting in this room? 1 to 10, I'll give you a 5. Does that mean it's too bright or is it too dim? We'll never know until you actually tell me your words and context behind it.
I think it's too bright up here. I'm dying.
Yeah, I'm sweating already. So the customer feedback piece. So now we interacted with the customer. Now, what is our outlet to be able to come back to us as a business? How are they going to be able to tell us what they actually feel? So we have a web URL that's actually white labeled, and we'll get to that later on, so where we can interact with the business and show that, hey, we fit into what you already have built. Now let us be able to analyze the customer feedback that comes in, and then we can give you analytics on the back end, so it makes it easier for you. So we can be a full platform for your system and business. The next piece is the mobile piece. A lot of people are in the app space now. A lot of people want an API. A lot of people want to just drop code in, be able to set that into their server and be able to run what they want to do. We've built that to where we can just a plug and play. We're a bolt-on to everything that you can build. We're agnostic to all systems, and we can be able to work with you in whatever setting you have already developed as a system. We're not trying to teach you to do something new. We're just trying to help you out in what you're already really good at. The next piece is texting. I can give you a 6-digit texting code. We're all very good. It's like texting a family member. It's like texting a best friend saying, hey, I enjoyed where I was today. The server was awesome, but the food was a little bit cold when it came out. Or, hey, my lights in my room are not working. My sheets were a little ruffled. It smells a little odd in my hotel room right now. Or the event was great, but it was super loud and I couldn't hear a thing the whole time. So those are the pieces right there that we can actually engage with the customer, pull what they have to say, their sentiment back to us, and enjoy what they actually want to tell us instead of putting a number on what they want to say. So when you combine all of these sectors, this is what's the differentiator, and I'll go into the competitor slide in a second, but this is what changes between us and everyone else, is that we give you all of these platforms to be able to interact with your customer. We're not going to pigeonhole you into one certain area to interact with who you are. Like I said, we're going to work with what your business dynamic is right now, and we're going to build it out from there. So when we pull all these solutions together, we're able to give you an easy-to-use platform. We're giving you something that's going to be interactive, instant. I respond to what's going on right here at this event. If someone refreshes the page for you right over there, then you'll be able to see the customer sentiment right away, as well as their comments, and see who it came from. The next piece is a private, so it's never going to go public. You're not going to have to worry about other people seeing what's occurring outside of your business. You can interact directly with the customer. And then it's rewarding. Customers actually know that they're being responded to and interacting with the business manager on site, not just going to a public corporate setting and waiting for someone to respond from a customer service center that's being hired just to interact with you daily. So this is probably a big question that a bunch of you guys have, because we have a lot of pieces that we are interactive with in the setting right now of this competition. So you can go on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and say whatever you want. You can post whatever you want. You can interact with the business that way, and they typically respond to you right away. And then from there became a business of Foursquare, Urban Spoon, Yelp, and TripAdvisor. Now there's gradings going on. Now there's a 5-star rating. Now there's an interaction of, hey, I want to go to this restaurant. I can see what you're doing. Then from there, companies even saw, hey, what I can do is actually build a business around getting you that information to put on Yelp, Urban Spoon, and everything else. So I'm going to build this. And Dunkin' Donuts shows up on here, and they actually use a subsidiary company to build this out. And you see the example that we use throughout the rest of this. And then another piece is where our market is right now. It's a SurveyMonkey, a 10-question survey to interact with the customer. Owner listen, talk to manager. It's a texting service in moment. There's a lot of customers or competitors in this market, but with us, we pull all those systems together and be able to interact fully with the business itself. And then so once we pull all this back together, the difference between BlurtBox and everyone else, just to recap, is a private dashboard. So you're going to have everything that you can go in. It's clean, easy to use and view. There we go. Real-time comments. So once someone submits something, it's right in there within milliseconds. So you can see it right away. You don't have to wait till they leave, go back home, respond to you. They can interact right there on site and scene. And then you can go ahead and resolve that scenario that's going on and interact with the customer itself. So all this said, Julian's going to jump into actual industries that we impact.
Awesome, thanks. So anyway, so to get back into what Aaron was just saying, to recap, really what makes BlurtBox is the fact that we're a plug-and-play solution to customer feedback, turning unstructured customer comments into actual data. And we found a real market for that in the hospitality space. Anybody that may have seen us pitch over the last year and a half remembers that we used to be an app, and we were really focused on letting the customer voice their opinion, and we really didn't understand our market until we got down to the point we realized that it's the business managers and owners that need to understand what their customers are thinking and feeling, and that's where we found our real market in the hospitality space, giving them the ability to understand what does the customer want, why do they come in, and why are they going to come back in, not just alone, but with friends. And so since then, we've launched a number of pilots in the hospitality space, service businesses. We've launched a few government university pilots, and then some general business pilots. And the reason we show this slide is because we found that with BlurtBox, we had to define our market in order to really build a business out of this, but we did find a lot of alternative verticals to grow and really build this into a scalable business. But to understand the immediate market a little bit better, this thing is tough. I'm dying over here. I know, right? I'm pointing over there at the floor like an idiot. I know. Anyways, so to get into the hospitality space itself, anybody in Orlando should be relatively familiar with the hospitality space, but really where we focus, our main focus is on the restaurant space, and then we focus on pilots and actual implementation with events, bars, and hotels. And so when we did our actual total available market, serviceable market, we found that in the U.S. alone, there's 1.2 million service locations looking and actively seeking services to increase customer retention and loyalty, and willing to spend about $1,000 a year on that type of a service. And we believe that since our service is so easily implemented, we're able to easily service half of that market, which comes out to $550 million as a serviceable market, excuse me. So anyway, so to touch on how BlurtBox actually works, how we sell it, how we make money, we have two versions of BlurtBox. We have a free version, which is our pilot program. That's how we implement into new businesses. That's how we get our foot in the door with a lot of these hospitality companies. And then we charge a premium licensing fee of $99 a month per location in order to access both analytics and the ability to respond to the customers that are interacting with the business. So based upon the sales we did last year, the projections we have this year, and what we've done in sales the first 3 months of this year, here's our projections for the next 5 years. And then just to touch on some metrics about where we're at, we have about 200 new businesses a week getting feedback, and that's through 10,000 plus engagements a month from customers at locations that we both service and do not service. So they're able to leave feedback to businesses, which is really our growth model. And to touch on some of our customers, so our biggest customers, we have paid pilots with a lot of brands that you guys might know, Domino's, Graffiti Junction, American Lung Association, and UCF, for all my UCF people in the room. Hey guys, I know it's a lot of Rollins people, but I'm still here. Aaron's from UCF too. And then we have pilots with Burger King, Papa John's, Children's Miracle Network, and along with others, but a few too many put on the slide, so I'll let Aaron jump back in.
And then with this competition, we were asked how we would use $50,000. And the software development is a key piece and the secret sauce to what we do. So we want to expand on that, as well as servicing potential customers. We are a customer service and customer feedback company, so we need to provide that great entity to them as well. And so we want to build that out. And then working capital, we got to turn the lights on. We got to keep the doors open. So that's one piece that we'd add that as well. And this last piece to this, just a quick story to this. When I was over at school, I had a guy that impacted my life strongly. And this is the gentleman here that we ended up being able to come back to him as a business and help him out and be able to grow and expand his business as Domino's. So if you have the chance, I don't know if you can be able to see this from the back. But BlurtBox was able to give him a little bit more analytics and intellectual understanding of his customer feedback and impact to who he had around the community and what he did for us as young adults to everyone else, and made a big impact. So we felt like this is a great thing to end on. And we appreciate all your guys' time listening and interacting with us, and that's what we have from our side from BlurtBox.
And we graduate in 3.5 weeks.
There we go.
Julian, you've been down. Okay.
You've been on that.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Doing
getting old. I got to get to bed. Just kidding.
Same here.
You weren't in that freezing jail cell back there. I'm telling you, it's horrible.
Julian, you're at this a while. You talked to us once before. You sort of pivoted a bit. I had this conversation. I wish I could say it was all my idea, but I was with Bill Pullmitz and Alan Kupets yesterday, and we were talking about this specifically. In my mind, a little bit old-fashioned maybe, but what bothers me most, if I have a bad experience in a restaurant or a hotel, I realize you want to stop it once it gets outside, but wouldn't you want to stop it before it got outside? Wouldn't you want to catch me? So I had a bad time, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the food, the service, whatever the case may be. And if there's a QR code or something on the table that lets me respond right now and say, this service sucked, and the manager gets me as I'm walking out the door and says, wait a second, because you could get to him, you could deliver it to him a lot faster. If I'm going to say nice, pleasant things, I can go home and say it, and you'll give me a coupon or whatever. But you really want to catch me if I'm really upset. So that's the danger is when I get outside. Wouldn't you want to catch it somehow before I get out of the facility or out of the establishment?
Yeah, and to touch on the question real quick, you know my background, you know where I come from, you've seen me pitch, and you know Aaron as well, and so bringing Aaron on board was a big piece about learning from his experience about how we catch the customers early on, and so I don't know if you want to jump in, but I'll tell you what I've learned just from working together and what we've developed is, if you remember before, it was about getting the customer to download an app, then leave feedback, and then maybe we would get back to them in the future, and it was all done privately. And my whole idea was, well, the business is going to love this because it's private. We learned really quickly, not just from pitching to you guys, but from a bunch of other people, that there was a huge flaw there because we needed to, in real time, allow the customer to leave the feedback, and also in real time, let the customer get a reward. And so what we've done is now with the customer sentiment and the algorithm on the back end itself, as soon as a customer leaves feedback, they're getting a reward or a response right away so that we can continuously engage with them. So that's the first touch point, and then Aaron can jump in on how we actually navigated the tables or the hotel itself.
So in a SaaS setting, as we are, you have to understand going into the pilot itself, when we talked about this a few days ago, is that you have to set expectations. So we come in and look at the management structure of the team. If there's no one that actually interacts with the customer and actually sees what feedback comes in, and they say, oh, it's great to have that, but we don't have someone that actually interacts with that directly, then we choose not to do a pilot with them. So we interact with companies that are truly going to be going with them on site and can go interact with that customer right away. You submit something right now and say, hey, AC is pretty cold in here, that would go directly to whoever's managing this facility, and they could come in and interact with you on site and be able to get you before you go out and do that customer facilitation of Yelp, TripAdvisor, or whatever. But we look at it as a traffic flow. So we don't just go after businesses that it sounds like a good idea. We make sure that it's a good partnership between both of us to make sure that we can facilitate those pieces right there.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the quality of the analytics that you're providing? When you say analytics, what do they look like?
Yeah, sure. So when we started out, am I too close to the speaker here? Something going on? I can just talk to you. So in any case, so when we first started out, we were doing a lot of keyword processing and word clouds, and I'm pretty sure that my very first pitch here to the competition last year was just about word clouds and analysis of keywords and context. We found really quickly that doesn't matter, especially to a low-level manager. If you're managing one location, 2 locations, 3 locations, you need to know right away, is the customer happy? Is the customer unhappy? Do I need to reward them? Do I not need to reward them? And so for us, it was about building out a process of algorithms that not just read for keywords, but read for context. And so now what we get is a customer sentiment, and that was in the third slide of how we actually work. And this is a short pitch, but really it's about understanding, is the customer happy in that moment, and do we need to give them something back? And so it's 85% accuracy upon deployment, and then it's about a 5 to 10% increase in the next 3 months. So we can get up to about a 90, 92% satisfaction rate in terms of how effective the algorithm is. We had a lot of problems with sushi places and spider rolls, but that's another story.
Okay. If you could repost the revenue slide,
I cannot. It's up to this gentleman back here.
room. And so there's a couple of questions.
That's
queuing up
probably like
here
6
about
back.
it.
I have no idea.
On that slide, in the 5th year, I think you're showing just shy of 1 million sites. Is that correct?
Should be 90,
Yeah,
950.
and a few minutes ago, you explained how personal observation of how the restaurant operates is important to the success of your product. How do you bridge that gap? A million's a big number.
Yep. So with our 2 markets right now, we have the advanced QSR, as we call it, quick service restaurants, which are these new branded facilities that really care about your interaction with the customer, your BurgerFi's, Shake Shacks. There's a Wahlburgers downtown now that interacts with all those. So you could go and partner with the Burger King and get all those, and you're going to grow at a stagnant rate like this. But the way we come up with the revenue scales, we go after these companies that are growing and fast growing, and they really truly care about the customers. So on the restaurant side, that rapid growth comes from them expanding their franchises as well as Firehouse Subs, those type of brands that we work with. On the hotel side, location base is not as a hotel as a whole. They choose different pieces of their business to interact with, and so those will be considered locations as well.
All right, so can you clarify, are you selling to headquarters, to franchise owners, or to sites?
Yep. So we focus solely on the franchise side of the restaurant. We look at people that own 50 or more locations. So we interact with them directly. And then from there you can roll out to, because of course some franchise models have corporate locations as well. And so we'll go franchise model, brand ambassador, to roll out from brand ambassador over to a corporate headquarters. Someone can step in and back us up when we come in there and say, hey, we've increased revenue by this much because of using them at 50 locations. The hotel side is different. CSM, a big thing, customer service management that's occurring right now. Those are the people we interact with. And sometimes it's an operations manager. Sometimes it's a digital marketing manager that views every website that gives back feedback. But we have looked in depth into this industry. So those are the 2 factors we look at, and we see the organizational chart, and we focus on those and how to choose who to actually contact and go directly with.
Can you walk us through your team, who does what, and at what percentage of your time is devoted to it right now, and how do you see this with those numbers over 5 years scaling up? What is your customer support and your back, how are you going to support those kind of customers as you ramp or whatever scale?
So I'll start on more of the sales side. So me personally, I come from a degree in sales directly in corporate sales. I came from medical and pharmaceutical and then went into software, 3 startups in the meantime and developing teams with that. So with me in this setting, these are a lot of enterprise sales right now. So I hold on to those personally. We are 100% involved. We show up to class Wednesdays from 6 to 9, Saturday from 1 to 4.
Thursdays.
But you're going to get me in trouble for that question. But we're full-time. I mean, we devote everything we have to this. We have no salaries coming in. We sleep off of our own awards points and everything like that. But building out the team itself, customer success is the key. So that's the next layer of this. And so you build a manager for that that's going to be able to be capable of building a team underneath them to interact with our customers for onboarding. And then Julian can talk about more of the management side and the tech side.
Yeah, and so how big is that team in 3-4 years or whatever to get to that scale, both on the sales side and the support side?
Yeah, the tech team is 3 of us. I had 2 people come help me out. I started out doing this on my own. Before it was really a data analytics play. It was just a very simple comment box. Anybody that saw us pitch a 1.5 years or 2 years ago, remember it was called BlurtBox, the digital comment box. And once we left that, and it wasn't just a simple text to email, data play was a lot more about understanding and analyzing the customer feedback. That's when we built out the tech team. So 3 of us total, and then we brought Aaron on board. And really it's about building out the team now and getting to those next steps. And so we've taken those steps the last few months, and that's part of the reason we're
3-year
here.
plan. What do?
3-year plan.
Yeah, that was
I
the
didn't
question.
hear the question. I was
how
screwing
big
around with the
is
slides.
how big is this sales and the support organizations? 3-4 years out.
Yeah. So the sales side, I really see it as a 10-person team. It doesn't need to be bigger than that because the interaction with this is more relationship than cold calling. I've had interacted with multiple companies that are 5,500 locations and more, and within one day I've been able to get in front of the director and be able to have a demo in 3 days.
And the support side?
The support side itself right now is very inclusive. It's us. We make sure that all our customers are happy, but really the support side itself has done a lot on making sure that the customer support, when they're set up, is set up so that they're handling their data and we're not processing it, and that's a big part of it. And we have 2 seconds. I'm
And
sorry.
who's your all's advisors? Who's advising you guys?
Hey, Carol Ann. She's right back there. We have Carol Ann. We have a couple of Stanford researchers. We have mentors over at Rollins and at UCF. So very Orlando niche company and really trying to build off this Orlando community. It's a very hospitality-oriented area, and so for us, it's a dream come true to have meetings with people who have been tenured careers at Marriott in the technology space, in the hotel and restaurant space. So that's where we do. But I am way out of time, and I know Josh is going to pin me on this. So am I okay? Can I keep going? Or?
Answer that question. Thanks.
Yeah. So we do have a small board of advisors. We have Carol Ann, obviously, on the board. John Vecchio from Mosley, Terry Berland from Kiranaga. I'm drawing a blank here, and Jeff Hancock from Stanford University. So 4-member board, but they help us out. So hopefully that's good enough. But thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
Thanks
guys.
for staying.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right.